thank you very much for your presentation. And first of all, thank you for reinforcing my my point here since the first forum of NCDs on the importance of cities for NCDs and urban policy. And I just wanted to better understand how the project is implemented. Do you work in policy, design, and implementation? And if so, when you were saying that you map challenges, how have you been able, or if you can point out to challenges that you face it and haven't been able to, because it's always good to learn with problems, to overcome governance issues. In working with cities, you're always working with intersectoral problems, and governance is a major issue. And very often in health debates, we are not used to talk about policy and governance, and that's one of the things I was curious about.
It's an excellent question, and that is one of the headaches, and that's also being integrated in the way we're working. So whenever we're going into a new city, and I did not explain that, whenever we go into a new city, we form a coalition in the city. So if we work, and it's always context specific, but there are a few groups that has to be part of it. So when you're working in a city, obviously the municipality, yes, goes without saying. Also a local university or research institution of some kind. It's super important. We would like to have patient organizations and other types of NGOs in there. And then from there, it can actually differ quite significantly. So let's take China as an example. We have 5 cities in China so far. You don't have civil society in China. That doesn't exist. Their society is organized differently. And it works for them. So inviting a patient organization wouldn't make sense because they do not exist in that way. In the US, on the other hand, US cities are not wealthy. The people living in the cities might be wealthy, but Houston, as an example, that's one of the cities we're working with. It's in Texas. Texas has no state tax, so the city has no money. So if you want to have a strong coalition and strong advocacy in Houston, you need to have a big coalition, right? So in Houston, they have a working group of 80 to 100 organizations, but a smaller core team of 10 to 12, right? And in that team, they have both, you say, the small organization, but also the larger ones. So the ones who can fund things, but also the ones who have volunteers who can help working. So one example is it's a church. It's a mega church. So they have like 25,000 people going to that church. So that's quite a strong force, having the minister of that church part of because he can mobilize 25,000 people every Sunday, right? So that's just one example. Governance, I think it's super important that you from the beginning lay out the ground rules. What is the scope for what we're doing in this city? What do we want to achieve? And one of the things that I think have been interesting to observe over the years is that quite often the scope changes over the time period. And that's why I think we have a luxury compared to some of the work that you have done with Vice and Strategy and the Bloomberg Initiative. That was like a 3-year initiative. So you can say you have a burning platform, you have to perform within 3 years. We're not limited by that. It has some benefits and of course also some disadvantages. But one of the benefits is that you can change the scope as you get wiser, right? So both Houston and Copenhagen started out as pure prevention initiatives. So the health mayor of Copenhagen said, she was a socialist, so she said, I do not want to be put in front of a pharmaceutical company. And we said, that's fine. Let's make it a prevention program. We can work with that. That's not a problem. We did the rule of halves, the one you presented, and it showed that it was not 50% that were diagnosed in Copenhagen. It was 75%. So diagnosis is above standards, right? It also showed that 98% of those diagnosed got a treatment. Of course, we have a universal healthcare system that is funded by taxes, and the Danes are wealthy, so we have plenty of money to pay for pharmaceuticals and other type of treatments. Awesome. But then, when we go from treatment to achieve treatment target, it's a 40 to 50%. And the health mayor said, wow, I did not know that. So for her, it was an aha moment and an aha experience. She said, we need to do something about that. And one of the activities that happened in Copenhagen was that she set up a diabetes center on one of the high streets in Copenhagen, together with the Danish Diabetes Association, run by the two organizations, for the newly diagnosed, because they found out that it is especially when you are newly diagnosed that you are particularly vulnerable. It can be very difficult navigating. Suddenly you have this new disease, you're being told you have to eat healthy, you have to exercise, and by the way, you can't do that anymore. And by the way, you should look at your blood sugar, and by the way, you should... I mean, there are a ton of information in your head, and it can be so difficult navigating. So coming to this place where there will be people taking you by the hand and moving you forward. That could not have happened from the beginning, because then it was defined as a program that was for prevention. But because she got wiser, and it became her agenda, then the focus changed. We saw something similar in Houston as well. So I think it's important from the beginning that you establish governance, but also that you are open to see changes along the way, of course, in agreement with the rest of the coalition.
Alguém gostaria de fazer alguma pergunta? Bom, vou fazer a minha então. So my question is, how do you identify the best partners? So in this case, the church, for example. So through the local office, what is your tip?
I think this is up to the local partners to agree on. And I know that this local church leader, he was also, the city already worked with him, so they suggested him coming in there. I think it's important, we as Novo Nordisk, we are actually taking a step back. So we do not say, we would like to work with that university. I think the city, they are well aware of who are the partners in the city. And so I think it's important that whenever the collaboration gets started, that you are having that conversation together. And I think also because we come from a pharmaceutical company and there are the ideas of who we are and why we are, I think it's important that we are showing the respect, stepping back and letting the locals. But of course, we would like to have a seat at the table, goes without saying.
So when you start in a new city, the first step is to locate the government and then go to the community? Okay.
Sometimes we do it that way. Sometimes we are approached by a local university that has heard about us and said, we would like to work with you, and then we will go to the government afterwards. So it either starts with a university or with a government.
But it hasn't started with patient advocates organizations. So they can go to the government. Yes, to push the agenda.
I think maybe we have one example, and now I'm looking at the other Stefan down there. Merida. Yes. Merida in Mexico, on Yucatan, that's a funny story because they approached us on our Facebook site. So my social media manager came to me and said, there is this person from Merida that wants to join. What do we do about that? And so I reached out to my colleague, so my Simone in Mexico, said, we have this opportunity. I mean, I leave it to you to decide. And he said, okay, he reached out to her, and she was super serious, and she rallied the government and the rest of the... So we have one example of that, yes. That also just shows that, I think, to speak in football terms, we're in Brazil after all. I mean, we're putting out the flags in the corners, and that shows where you can play. And then it's up to the local city to decide where they're playing.
Okay, thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about how you fund the projects when you go into the cities, and what is the cost, the individual cost per person or per patient, you know, to be able to bend the curve, and how long is a project like this? How long do you stay in the city?
Yes, Good question. I think for us in Novo Nordisk, it's important that we build sustainability into it. With sustainability, I also mean that it's important that we from the beginning agree on who is funding what. Our contribution from Novo Nordisk initially is to pay for the research. We believe that the research will build the foundation for taking better decisions. And quite often this research will not happen unless we pay for it. We also believe that this research will be added to the global pool of knowledge in this field, and we'll be happy to build that one. So we pay for that. From there on, I think it's important that the cities, not necessarily the government, but it could also be local partners in the cities, that they are funding the activities going on. Because if it was Novo Nordisk picking up that bill, that would happen until the time when those money disappeared, and then the activities would disappear as well. I think it's important that it stays within the local city. Whether that comes from local charities, foundations, from a government, that doesn't really matter. But it's important that that is thought into it. And it's not because we're cheap in Novo Nordisk and we don't want to pay for it. It's about being responsible. If we paid for something for 3 years and then it disappears, then there are people who are relying on us and suddenly they cannot rely anymore. And they might even be worse off. So that is the model we are building. How much does it cost per person? I don't know that number, but we are not talking big money here. And there are no cities of the 19 we've been in where their healthcare budgets have increased because of this. So what happens is they get better information to take decision from, and thereby they can redistribute budgets in a more clever way.
Did you ever give up of running the program in some city? And if so, why that happened, and what did you learn about it?
Yeah. I think we don't have an example yet, but I think we might have one soon, and I will not name drop any. But why it happened, and I think it's a super question, because this is an innovation project, and it's an open innovation project, so we should also share our failures, right? And I think what missed in that particular city was the shared value. I don't think there was a shared value. So normally, what we see in most of the cities is like magnets going together, right? But sometimes if you turn them around, they will go away from each other, and I think that was what happened in that particular city. In that particular city, there are still some great things going on, so we would continue work there, but maybe it will be without the city.
Yeah, it's amazing. But I was thinking, I think that you already answered a little bit. I was asking about if there is some, in some way, this program became a politic from a government, a public government, or a private insurance, I don't know. And if there is any approach in Brazil, any city, what it happens.
Yeah, great question. I mean, I would love to be in a position where what we are doing will be lifted into policies. Then I think we would have done a good thing. I think this is about baby steps. And I think if we are to bend the curve, it's not tomorrow and it's not the day after tomorrow. This is a long-term ambition, right? In order for us to bend the curve, it's just like with climate, right? There is some targets that the temperature shouldn't rise above 2 degrees or preferably 1.5 degrees. In order for them to succeed with that, CO2 emissions should go down. The CO2 emissions in our curve is obesity rates. In order for the CO2 emissions to go down, behavior needs to change. The same happens to obesity rates. And in order for obesity or for behavior to change, we need to do things differently. And one way of doing things differently is, of course, changing politics. Regulation. We have heard about soda tax. We have seen soda tax work many places. You have also talked about labeling on food boxes and so on earlier, I heard, right? That's another way of regulating. So definitely. And that's also why we need to think a little broader, not only within the in the health sector, because there's only so much you can do within that box, but maybe we should think outside the box as well. And that is also one of, you say, the ambition we have in the program. How can we expand the number of municipal partners? So it's not only the healthcare department, but also the road and parks, and education, and labor market, and culture, and so on.
I have one final question.
Yeah.
That I was saving, but it's very close to what she asked, so I'm going to follow up. We also at Vital Strategies work with urban health, and in projects very similar to this in many terms, be it with diabetes or other urban health issues. And one very serious challenge in working with urban health, and just a side note here, while we have 55% of urban population in the world, in Brazil since 2010 we have 84% of urban population. One very serious challenge in working with urban health from the philanthropic perspective that we are funded by in our organization, and from your perspective also of not investing too much that you make the city reliable on you, dependent on you, is to achieve sustainability with scalability. So what are your plans for scalability? Do you have any success cases of that? And what do you have in mind for this type of activity? And it connects with policy. That's why
yeah. No, it's a wonderful question. I think it's important that we document both the soft stories but also the hard stories. I think it's important that when we are working, we're not only mapping the challenges, so why are some people more vulnerable than others, and what are the rule of halves. We should, of course, also document what is working. And one success story that I would like to share with you is another philanthropic organization, so the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation in the U.S., one of the biggest healthcare funders in the U.S., maybe even in the world. They found our project so exciting that they agreed to fund $2.4 million in evaluating the impact of the work being done in Houston, Vancouver, and in Mexico City. So there is an institute on, and they did not give it to Novo Nordisk. That would be silly because then we have to pay taxes from it. So, but it was given to a non-profit on the University of Texas, run by one of our lead investigators in cities in Houston. And I think the work that they are doing there, documenting the impact, that can work in the longer run. Also because having a financial backer like the Robert Wood Johnson, they can help making a scale. And I would like to extend this collaboration. And I know that they like our collaboration as well. So that might be a way of scaling it. Finding these funders, whether they are public or private or foundation-based, finding them, because quite often it's their role, it's their job to do these things. So the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation has, they are running a program called Culture of Health. So that's one way of changing behavior and habits, working on changing the culture, right? So that is one example that I would like to share with you. Yeah.
Uma outra pergunta? Eu gostaria de fazer uma pergunta para a Simone. I will just for a second. Simone, você tinha falado sobre os valores essenciais, sobre o Novo Nordisk Way, né? E aí eu estava aqui pensando sobre essa coisa da Escandinávia, né? Que a gente fala, Dinamarca, Finlândia, são países com uma educação, enfim, uma sociedade que é bastante diferenciada em N setores. Quando você fala dos valores e você está numa multinacional da Escandinávia, quer dizer, como que isso se reflete na busca de parcerias, né? Quando você encontra um parceiro, o quanto que isso implica em não ter uma parceria, ou mesmo com o governo?
Obrigada pela pergunta. Eu acho que vai muito na linha do que o Stefan falou sobre shared values. A gente precisa encontrar parceiros que tenham valores em comum com a Novo. E a Novo realmente não abre mão dos seus valores, principalmente da questão de ética e compliance. Você pode imaginar o que é ética e compliance numa empresa dinamarquesa? Pode acreditar. E ela funciona. E ela tem que funcionar. Não tem opção B nessa área. Ética e compliance. Então, por exemplo, esse projeto que eu mostrei, projeto em parceria com o IPADS e com o CONASEMS, você vê, é uma instituição privada, o CONASEMS é uma instituição pública, que compartilha exatamente dos mesmos valores da companhia. Eles entendem que necessita de um esforço público-privado para poder, no caso desse projeto, qualificar melhor os cuidados da pessoa com diabetes do tipo 1 e ajudar e apoiar a implementação de um PCDT, de um protocolo clínico de diretrizes terapêuticas, que foi implantado pela Conitec e que a empresa entende que tem uma responsabilidade. E eu vou te falar, esse projeto está sendo extremamente importante, porque a implementação dessa tecnologia está sendo muito difícil. Muito difícil. Então, de alguma maneira, a Novo entende que, ao atuar dessa forma, e nesse caso nós somos os únicos funding partners, não gostaria que fosse desse jeito, mas nesse caso nós somos os únicos funding partners, a gente pretende deixar um legado, né, as três entidades deixar um legado através da produção de conteúdo, que vão estar disponibilizados no site do Conasems e no site que vai ser criado, glicamérito.com.br, que pode ser usado por qualquer instituição, seja ela pública ou seja ela privada. E no caso do público tem um apelo também muito forte, porque é muito difícil você chegar a 5.570 municípios. É muito difícil. Às vezes nem o Conasems, através dos seus projetos com o PROAD, consegue. Ele consegue chegar a 80%, 90%. Então, a parceria com o Conasems, e ele acredita na parceria público-privada. Então, essa gestão atual realmente abre as portas para conversar e a gente encontrou muito espaço de diálogo com eles. Então, toda essa aprendizagem, para mim, está sendo também uma aprendizagem muito grande, tem sido valiosíssima. Tenho aprendido bastante a trabalhar com parceiros, o que realmente não é fácil. Não vou te dizer que é fácil, mas esse projeto tem sido bem encaminhado.
Obrigado. Mark, como estamos? Mais alguma pergunta?
O Brasil, diferente de alguns países onde a Novo Nordisk atua, tem um grande problema, que é o nosso analfabetismo funcional. E isso, eu estou falando de um paciente que já está inserido no tratamento que, ao meu ver, é o mais complexo da medicina e, se não fosse complexo, se não fosse só esse o problema, ainda exige a participação do paciente. Ele tem que participar. Então, a minha pergunta é, além das capacitações, porque isso tem sido feito há muito tempo, farmacêuticas envolvidas, sociedades médicas envolvidas, é importante, a gente tem alguns problemas em nossa saúde pública, como um turnover muito alto entre os profissionais de saúde, principalmente o médico que prescreve a insulina. E a minha pergunta é, como é que fica depois da capacitação? Como é que fica depois que esses médicos forem treinados, o segmento disso, né? Colocar os pacientes para porem em prática uma terapia complexa que a gente nem sabe se o atravessador, que é o médico, e os outros profissionais, se eles compreendem, se eles fazem isso com qualidade. Então, a minha preocupação é, terminado tudo isso, como é que fica a ponta, né? Como é que ele vai ter possibilidade maior de se tratar, não só porque os profissionais estão melhor treinados, né? Os pacientes.
Olha, Carla, é difícil de garantir que o paciente vai adotar aquilo que está sendo ensinado. A gente está com uma preocupação muito forte de envolver nesse projeto não só SBD, a DJ e a NAD, mas os próprios conteudistas que têm trabalhado os conteúdos dos vídeos e cursos, têm sido apoiados também por apoio de psicólogo, para tentar fazer com que esse material se traduza em uma mudança de comportamento. Mudar comportamento é muito difícil, né? Então, a forma que esse conteúdo está sendo desenvolvido, a ideia é que ele seja o mais didático possível, para que qualquer paciente, qualquer cuidador possa entendê-lo, independente do apoio da equipe de saúde. Não é isso que a gente quer que eles trabalhem em parceria. A gente está estimulando muito. Eu já conheço um pouco do conteúdo do vídeo, não tanto do curso. O vídeo vai ser para o paciente e para o cuidador. Existe um estímulo à busca a equipe de saúde, busque seu médico. Então, assim, isso aparece várias vezes em vários vídeos, para tentar fomentar que um tratamento para uma doença complexa, ele não pode ser feito de uma maneira isolada. Precisa de um trabalho multidisciplinar. Agora, a mudança de comportamento é difícil. Então, não quer dizer que essa receita é correta, mas eu acho que a gente está caminhando para uma receita adequada. Se vai impactar na ponta, a gente vai saber com o tempo, mas não de maneira imediata. Não sei se ajudei a responder.
Me preocupa... O que me preocupa, né? Com todas essas capacitações que foram feitas ao longo de 20, 30 anos, os pacientes, os profissionais sendo ensinados a lidar principalmente com a insulinoterapia intensiva, eu vejo trabalhos em saúde pública, em uma unidade dispensadora aqui, vizinha nossa, Bauru, onde lá está demonstrado que apenas 10% dos pacientes que recebem suas fitas para automonitorização tomam atitude mudando a dose da insulina rápida em cima do número que estão vendo no glicosímetro. E aí a gente lembra também que não são as insulinas o que é mais dispendioso no tratamento de pessoas com DM1. É justamente a monitorização. Então, isso me preocupa, porque eu vejo, por um lado, somente 10% dos pacientes tomam atitude em cima do número que vê, sendo que todos deveriam tomar atitude em cima desse número. Estou furando o dedo para quê? Qual é o objetivo de furar o meu dedo? E, por outro lado, apenas 24% do médico capacita o seu paciente a mexer na dose de acordo com o número que vê no glicosímetro. Então, eu vejo que a gente tem um problema sério a ser resolvido e não adianta, né, a gente incorporar novas tecnologias, como tem sido feito, como tem sido discutido com o Ministério da Saúde, se a gente não coloca na mão desse paciente, na ponta, formas dele se tratar melhor. Né? Você veja, a automonitorização é uma lei nacional. Há quanto tempo nós temos as fitas sendo distribuídas para os pacientes? E até hoje, pessoal, eles não tomarem atitude em cima do número e de um furo no dedo, que eles fazem 3, 5 vezes ao dia. Então, tem essas questões todas que realmente me deixam muito preocupada. Como vocês aqui sabem, me envolvi pesadamente na incorporação da insulina análoga rápida, mas eu tenho medo. Eu tenho medo que lá na ponta não faça diferença e o governo depois olhe e diga um custo maior, sem uma diferença explícita, vamos voltar ao que era. Né? Eu realmente, isso me assusta.
Carla, eu compartilho da sua fala. Eu também me preocupo, porque a discussão em torno de novas tecnologias no SUS é uma discussão difícil, uma discussão que está se tornando cada vez mais difícil, porque existe uma restrição orçamentária importante. Né? Então, a gente tem que trabalhar para garantir que a tecnologia seja usada da maneira mais adequada. É um esforço que a gente espera ter resultados positivos, mas eu não estou dizendo que é fácil.
Bom, vou agradecer, então, a esse painel que foi tão interessante, né? Acho que todo mundo aí trazendo muitas questões e comentários. E é claro que acho que a gente, quando o Stephen vier da próxima vez, a gente espera que seja para o lançamento do programa aqui no Brasil, né? E que seja em breve, né? Que vai ser muito interessante a gente ter esse programa tão importante, né? Também implementado no país. Muito obrigado.